Hey guys, I wasn't quite ready to start yet, but I see you rating. Hello, Sable. How's it going? I'm sorry the pretty little thing didn't pop up because I wasn't fast enough. How was your stream? I'm still just getting set up here, so hopefully everything's working. If it's not, if for some reason you can't. Oh no! Sable's power went out! Oh my goodness! Well, you guys caught me just at exactly the right time. I'm just in my final stage of setup, so I might have to pop AFK here in a second. But welcome in! I guess I can't ask Sable how things went if her power is out. I'm assuming she's unable to answer. But how did it go? What good in spite of that? That's great. Were you guys doing for the words today or just hanging out? Like what were you guys up to before the power so rudely went out? I don't know why. It sounds like Sable's had a lot of power outages this week because I saw she mentioned on the Discord that she had one the other day as well. It seems so weird because, well, she's a little bit she might be having a little bit different weather than us, but we're having clear weather today, so it's weird. Doing some of it nice, just kind of hanging for the part that I was there for. That's nice. I hope you guys got some words done. I'm going to be editing here today in a little while. I am a little late getting started because I was updating my outline for this very edit this morning, but I'm here now. Just switching into editing mode from the massive clicky clacks I've been doing the past few days. Might be a remnant of the tree that went down the other day. Oh gosh, I didn't realize that a tree fell the other day. Maybe they might be cleaning it up. That's very possible. I know sometimes when the weather is, you know, not that great here, it's not all that uncommon for the power to go out. Or a transformer. I hope a transformer didn't blow. That would seriously suck because that usually takes them a little while to get fixed. But I do know, I don't think we're on the exact same power system because I obviously live in a slightly different town than she does. But I do know that we've had a couple of times where where the power goes out and the power company's like, we don't really know what's happening. We'll get back to you in 40 minutes. And it's like, okay, cool. If the power company doesn't know what's going on, that doesn't seem like a good sign. But I hope they get it back up for her quickly. It's still chilly enough here that I wouldn't want to be without power for very long. But if a tree fell, it could be second time in 3. I know, I was just saying that, is it back now, Erin? Did the power come back for you guys? I was just saying, she just mentioned it the other day. That seems so crazy. BC Hydro has to send a team to check it out. It can be a while. Yeah. We are actually, in our area, we're on Fortis. So, which I'm not a huge fan of either. I think we're on Fortis. Am I getting things mixed up? My brain is a little bit scrambled because, as I said this morning, I was doing massive amounts of outlining for this edit, getting my brain back in gear. But I hope the power comes back quickly. Whatever it is, I hope they get it sorted out. We have Fortis for our electricity too, which is weird. Which I thought was weird when we moved here. But we have both. We have both natural gas and electricity through Fortis. We actually... Our account is linked, but we still have to manage them separately. It's really weird. When we first moved here, because I thought everything was BC Hydro when we moved to BC. But I guess maybe it's a weird thing of the town that we're in, but or at least we manage it through Fortis. I don't know if they like sublet the lines from BC Hydro. I don't know how it works. It's very weird, Rowan. It's very, very weird. And what was interesting was when we moved here, we only had the electricity because our old house, our last house, I shouldn't say it wasn't an old house, but our last house where we moved, we didn't have natural gas. We only had electricity. And when we moved here, we have both. So I called I've had this happen a couple times where I call Fortis to ask them a question, and if you call the electric team, they can't help you with the natural gas stuff. And if you call the natural gas team, they can't help you with the electric stuff, but it's all managed through the same online portal. So if I log into my account, which I obviously can't show you because it would dox the hell out of me, if I log into my account, it's all the same account. It's all the same account number. It's all the same account information. It shows me both my electricity bill and my natural gas bill information on the same page. I click on, I can enter it through either of my bills. I click on it all the same way. But if you call the company and you accidentally call the wrong one, they're like, I can't help you with that. You have to call this completely other number. And it's so annoying. Hang on a second here. We don't need bots. Tempest, I'm so sorry to hear that your leg hurts after the tumble you took. Have you had a chance to go get it checked out? I saw that you said that you were thinking about going to a doctor and letting them have a look at it. I hope you're feeling better. I have another friend who took a tumble recently down the stairs and has been recovering for several weeks, and it's not great. So I hope you're taking care of yourself. I hope you're starting to feel better soon. But yeah, I don't know. I know that we had a couple months back where we had a couple of power outages too, and it was really weird because we lived here for like 2 years and had one power outage, and then we started having them like every month, and I was just like, what is happening? To the point where I really want to get an uninterrupted power supply for my computer, but they're quite expensive, so I don't have one yet. Pretty sure it's just a mild sprain, starting to feel a little better. Hey, if you've hurt yourself, it's not whining. It's okay. It's okay to admit when you don't feel great. I don't consider that whining, honestly. I am going to, unfortunately, like I said, I have to pop AFK for just 1 minute here because there was 1 or 2 more things that I needed to take care of before I was ready to start. But I'll just be 2 minutes. I'll pop up my BRB screen so you guys can have a cute little Domerin to keep you company for a moment, and I will just be right back to actually do the productivity portion of the stream. 1 sec, guys. Okay, I'm back. Oh my goodness, sorry about that. I'm being a little bit of a radical today. I don't usually stream on Tuesday afternoons, but I've actually stolen Ghost Pepper's camera here so that you can see my face and my clicky clacking at the same time, but I will have to try and be we'll have to try to be finished around 6 o'clock PST, because at that point Ghost Pepper will need to steal his camera from me so that he can start set up for Winds of Chaos D&D tonight, which if at that point we're still going, I can always just switch over to the me T image to go without camera if we have to. But I'm pretty confident I can do the editing in the amount of time. Hey Laurel, how's it going? So today I'm starting edits for Visions and Like They Seem, which is the third trilogy in my Aruvalia Chronicles. I've kind of learned that I write in trilogies, so each trilogy has its own name because it will eventually be a box set released under that name, and then each book within the trilogy has sort of a naming scheme. So I sort of have a pattern that I use for naming all of my books, and so that you can distinguish which 3 books belong to each trilogy. So every 3 books, the naming scheme changes. And what I did with Aruvalia Chronicles is that there are 3 naming schemes and then they kind of reverse. So the first 3 books in the first trilogy were called Eyes of a Stranger, Key to All Doors, and Heart of a Kingdom. And then I'm naming the last 3 books in the series with the same type of naming scheme. I haven't settled on all of them yet, so I can't release what the titles will be yet. The second trilogy was Madness Beyond Control, Words Beyond Reason, and Life Beyond Time. And then for the fourth trilogy, which I just finished writing, the names were Vision After Darkness, Truth After Deception, and Vengeance After Mercy. So kind of like a mirror, but different. And then this trilogy has the only naming scheme that won't end up being mirrored because there are 5. And it's Honey-Tinged Lies, which we're starting today, Ever-Twisting Wounds, and Blood-Forged Bonds. Just so that they all kind of feel, so that each trilogy kind of feels like a coherent whole on some level, but also is distinct from the other ones so that you can tell where you are in the series. So I write in trilogies, I edit in trilogies, and I polish in trilogies. So I just finished writing the 4th trilogy, Beyond the Moon's Beams, on, when was it? Wednesday? I think we finished writing it, Wednesday morning last week, which was super exciting. I had been working on book 12 since the beginning of January, and I had been working on that particular trilogy. I think I started it in October, I want to say. So there's a good solid 6 months of work involved in that, because of course I had done the planning all ahead of time and all that. So we're almost caught up to, funnily enough, hey Gatly, how's it going? Feeling really on the roll with writing right now and feeling just good in general. Laurel, I'm glad to hear that. Also, Tempest said start doing vocal warm-ups because I have a filk to sing today and it's the tippy top of my range. Good luck. I have a trouble with high notes because I used to be mezzo soprano when I was younger. But I mostly only, at least from high school onward, I mostly only ended up singing alto and mostly low parts. So I kind of lost my upper section of my range, which I'm sad about now. At the time I was like, whatever, I don't care. But now I kind of wish I had stuck with using my full vocal range, because you use it or you lose it. So good luck. I hope it works out. It blows my mind that people can write books when I'm struggling with scripts for videos. I mean, Gatly, some days it's hard. It really is. I usually don't stream those days. I usually just quietly scream off camera so you guys can't see it. But keep at it. I hope that those scripts will come together for you, and that the words and concepts will flow together. It's hard. I spent the morning pulling my hair out slightly less than I thought I would over edits for Honey-Tinged Lies, which is the book I'm just talking about. So I was working on this particular trilogy when I started streaming in late 2021. I actually went back and checked. I started this trilogy in September of 2021. And in November, when I started streaming, I was working on chapter 26, which is actually the second book, because when I write them, because they're all one book in my brain, I don't reset my chapter numbers at the beginning of the new books. So I was just maybe about a fifth of the way into book two in the trilogy, book 8 in the series. And so it's been really weird because I've been going over reading some of it, and I remember streaming some of the like sessions that created those chapters. So it's been really interesting reading back over it and being like, oh yeah, I remember writing this on stream. And I remember there's one scene where Dameron, the main character, goes for a run, and you guys suggested heavy metal band names for me to use, and it was so much fun. I wanna get more. I wanna actually get more heavy metal band names to put in to sprinkle throughout, because Dameron is a big heavy metal fan, and since this doesn't take place in the real world, I don't want to use like real bands. I want to use like cool fantasy sounding bands. So yeah. So it's been pretty cool. But this book, Honey-Tinged Lies, was actually written before I started streaming, so this will be the first time that I've worked on it on stream, which is fine. I was pleasantly surprised when I was going through it this morning because, first of all, I think of the 3 books in this trilogy, this one is the least of a dumpster fire, which means it needs the fewest amount of like changes in order to be actually viable as a story that other people can read. I only need to add in one scene, which is a small number. Actually, I usually am missing at least one subplot when I write my first draft. So the fact that I only need one scene in order to fix this plot is nice. It means I don't have to add in a complete subplot. I basically made sure that I got all the subplots in this time, but there's one plot beat that's missing in Crescent's plot, actually. So I just needed to, there was something that I made reference to and then it never happened. And so I was going back through the draft in order to update so that I could start the edits, and I was like, I said I was gonna have one of the characters do this and I never did it. So I made a note to add that in. I used to have a list for cool names for game characters, but then it evolved to band names titles, but I've lost the notebook. No, Catley, I hope you're able to find it. Names are the hardest for me. I outsource them to name generators or cool people who come into my stream and have ideas for heavy metal band names. Does naming a trilogy after lines from the same show count as a cohesive title lineup? So this is a really complicated question, but you want to have some kind of naming scheme for your books because it will make them identifiable. I learned this late. So, the first trilogy in Celestial Serenade doesn't actually have a naming scheme because I kind of learned too late that I really needed to do that. You want something that when you look at it at a glance or when you speak about it out loud, it forms a cohesive pattern so that people know that they are part of a set or part of a whole. And authors do this in many different ways. I mean, if you're really freaking famous, then you can name your book whatever you want and people will probably read it. But I think if I look up the Game of Thrones, which I've not actually read, but we have them. They, whoops, I can type, surely. They have a much looser, so it's sort of a looser idea of a naming scheme, but you can usually tell, that they're related to each other. So it's actually A Song of Ice and Fire, I believe, is the name of is it A Game of Thrones is the overall series? Or, because I think Song of Ice and Fire is just the first one. But then it's like A Game of Thrones, A Storm of Swords, A Dance with Dragons. So it's just, when you talk about them, they're a cohesive unit. They seem like they go together. They make sense. They have roughly the same amount of syllables in them, although I don't often pay that much attention. So you could take lines from your books in order to do it. I used to do it that way too, but you want to pick ones that sound like they go together, if that makes sense. So even with my trilogy names, like the trilogies for like what will eventually be the box set, the collection series for Aruvalia Chronicles, they're called Once Upon a Dream, The Beast's Wicked Gleam, Visions Unlike They Seem, Beyond the Moon's Beams, and Frozen Within a Scream, which when I say them all out loud in sequence, it's really easy to tell how they kind of go together. They were inspired by the song Once Upon a Dream, which inspired the title of the first one, obviously. And they rhyme because I'm a masochist. So just, it's more of a branding thing. I feel like I'm flailing so hard on answering this question. It's more of a branding thing. You don't have to do it. It's not a hard and fast rule. No one's gonna like melt out of the woodwork and be like, you're naming your stories wrong if you don't do it. But it is a way, especially if you're self-publishing your books, even if you're not self-publishing, if you're traditional publishing, they usually do this as well. But it's a branding thing. It makes stories in a series feel like a cohesive whole. It also allows your cover artist to create a template that they can then use the same kind of text template on each book, which is useful for them because then again it creates cohesive branding. So it's more of a publishing mechanic than a writing mechanic, if that makes sense. It's not a rule, it's more of a marketing thing, but I've found that if I just start with coming up with titles that I like that feel like they have a cohesive branding to them before I start writing the book, it just helps me. I don't know if I actually answered the question. I hope I did. Short version, you can name your books whatever you want. But if you want the most cohesive marketing / branding, a naming scheme is a good idea. Just because it will help you create a series of covers that look and feel similar and allow your readers to very quickly and easily identify books in a certain series. I'm sorry. I feel like every time I answer a marketing question, I feel like I'm like, yep, I know a little bit about this, but not a lot, and now you know how little I know. I'm gonna get my white noise going so that we can actually do edits. There might be a little less clicky-clacking today than usual, but there will be a lot of intense staring at the screen, so I hope you guys are ready. I'm going to be editing the first chapter in this book, which I'm kind of excited about because as I was saying earlier, this book ended up not being as big of a train wreck as I thought, and I kind of realized as I was reading over it this morning that the opening scenes, I had forgotten about this, the opening scenes of this book are essentially a high-speed chase, because this is a fantasy story that takes place in the modern world. So it's a high-speed car chase, and our main character, Damarin, is on his bike, because he doesn't own a car, he owns a motorcycle. And his motorcycle actually has all of these really cool magical modifications built into it, which I've never gotten to talk about in the first 6 books in the series, because I think we've seen him riding his motorcycle like twice, very briefly. And so basically what happens in this first scene is that he is on his way to work on his bike, and he basically gets called to say, hey, there's an incident in progress and you are close by, would you be willing to help out? And he is like, hell yes, because he was on his way to meetings, which are boring. That's not why. It's a tiny little bit why, but also if he's in the area, he's gonna help. So he gets redirected to help with this high-speed chase, and I get to highlight all the magical modifications that have been built into the mechanisms of his bike. So he has stuff like he can activate a shield spell on his bike. It has a limited duration, but he can use it to shield him from bullets. Pretty handy in a friggin' mobile gunfight. He also has sort of a special type of siren built into his motorcycle as well, which makes him more visible as an emergency vehicle. But when it's not activated, you can't tell that his bike is any kind of emergency anything, because it's just a regular bike. I like to think about how magic would affect day-to-day mundane objects or situations. Not that a high-speed chase is a day-to-day situation, but I like to think about things from the real world that we think of as fairly normal, and how magic would affect or enhance them, and what would that look like, or what would that feel like, or what would that result in. And so I thought that this scene was a total train wreck when I wrote it, but I skimmed over it this morning, and I'm actually pretty happy with some of it. I'm also taking this opportunity to highlight a few of Dameron's abilities that we haven't gotten to see before. It's established in this series that Dameron is what is called a channel or a channeler. So he's not a mage. He doesn't weave spells or use magic specifically, but he can act as a channel or a conduit for magical power. So magic can sort of be drawn through him, which, if he's working in tandem with a mage, allows him to sort of bolster the mage's ability and allow them to do things that they wouldn't normally be able to do. But it also allows him to do some cool things with magical energy that aren't exactly spells. And so it gives him a couple of extra abilities, which we've really seen him use with his swords quite a lot since the beginning of the series. But he also can use his channeling ability with his guns. And so that is also something that is featured, since this is a high-speed chase / gunfight. That's probably about all I can really say about the opening of this book without getting too deeply into spoilers. But essentially, I've taken some of the mechanics of my world building and my character building and sort of, power is back. I'm so glad to hear that, Aaron. I would hate for it to be an extended one, because I know every time my power goes out, I'm like, oh my god, how long is it going to be out? And I get afraid to, like, open my fridge, because I'm like, how long do I have to keep everything cold? So I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear the power is back. I hope it stays back. I hope this is your last power outage for a while. Fingers and toes crossed. I asked because the project I'm working on, the title is the line at the beginning of Demon Slayer, whenever happiness is destroyed, there is always the smell of blood. This first project is called When Happiness is Destroyed. The second one is going to be called The Smell of Blood. But I wanted to call the third Set Your Heart Ablaze after another favorite line, but wasn't sure if they go together as a trio. I mean, ultimately, like I said, you can name your stuff whatever you want. And you can decide what goes together. Like how your naming scheme works. If it feels like a cohesive unit to you, then it will feel like a cohesive unit to other people, if that makes sense. But But yeah, so I basically took advantage of the opening of this book to use some mechanics from like my world and character building and put them in the story in a fun and interesting way. And I've never written a high-speed chase before. This was my first attempt to write a high-speed chase with magic. So I was pleasantly surprised this morning. I mean, I'm sure I'm going to find issues with it. I'm going to start going back over it here in a few minutes and seeing what it actually needs done to it. So I'm sure I'm gonna find problems with it because this was my first time writing something like this. But I was pleasantly surprised reading over it this morning because it felt fun, it felt dynamic, it felt interesting, it felt a lot more solid than I felt when I was writing it. So, cautionary tale / lesson, write outside your comfort zone and then put what you wrote on a shelf for a year and come back to it and you might be pleasantly surprised. I'm sure there are going to be scenes. I already found a sentence. I don't know if it's in this scene. I think it might be in the next scene. I already found a sentence where I typoed and I left out a word and I have no idea what I was trying to say. So there's going to be moments like that whenever you write something. But right outside your comfort zone because you might surprise yourself too and it might be fun. So editing is always the hardest part of the process for me. I actually really enjoy the raw creation process of just getting ideas out of my head and onto the page. But the way that I write, as I've said many times in the past, is to just kind of dump all the information in my head onto the page. So lots of people are like, oh, you write really fast, and oh, you write so many words at one time. But the quality of those words is not always the best. So, I do a lot of cutting and rearranging and refining during my editing. And for me, it always kind of feels like I'm tearing my work apart and putting it back together, because I am, is what I'm doing. And I don't enjoy the process, but I do enjoy how my work comes out the other side of it. I do find that the deeper I get into a series, the cleaner my first drafts are, because I get the hang of a character's voice, or I get the hang of the world that I'm working with. Which is not to say that I don't still info dump and that I don't still need to go back and cut a bunch of stuff and move stuff around. I mean, I always have to do that. But the first book in a new series is always the hardest. So yeah, I'm looking forward to digging into this and seeing how it goes. We're going to be working on this until probably July. I will, unfortunately, I think I've mentioned this before, I will be taking a 2-week break after this week. So I'm streaming this afternoon. I'm going to shut up in a second and actually be productive. And then I'm streaming again on Thursday morning. But after that, Ghost and I are going to Ontario for 2 weeks. We leave on Tuesday, actually, next Tuesday, a week from now. A week from now, we'll be on a plane. So we will be in Ontario for 2 weeks. We won't have any of our computer equipment with us. We'll be visiting his family. So, unfortunately, I will be taking 2 weeks off of streaming, but I won't be working on this project while we're gone anyway, so you guys won't miss anything. But we are going to be working on this until probably June or July, and then I have one more edit to do. And in September, we're hopefully going to start up we're going to start writing the last 3 books in this series. If anyone's like, what's the plan? I don't make typos, I make new words. I mean, I know lots of people who say that they keep their typos to be new terms. I've done that a couple times. All right. So I usually share the very first line of the book. Which may or may not change. And the first line of this book, which is also the first line of this trilogy, is the sun hadn't fully risen when Dameron guided his motorcycle free of the parking garage nestled beneath the building that held his and Crescent's shared condo, which isn't the most exciting, but I do think I saw a sentence later on. So I always get torn, because then I have a description of the sunset which says, light tinted the underside of the sky above Silver Garden, making it look like frosted glass. A few dim shadowed specks indicated distant clouds, but for the most part, the morning was clear. As the first rays of the sun's light clawed above the horizon, they lit the tallest spires of the buildings, that should be plural, causing them to glint and glimmer like polished sentinels keeping eternal watch. I will probably move that to the beginning because it's much more interesting and much more descriptive than Dahmer rolling his motorcycle out of a parking garage. It's much more evocative. It's not the biggest story hook, I will admit. If this was a first book of a series, I wouldn't necessarily start by describing a sunset. But this is a book 7. If people have gotten this far into the series, I assume that they trust me. I assume that they are pre-interested in what is happening with these characters and in these characters' lives. So I don't necessarily need to start with the world's strongest story hook. That's hopefully at the beginning of my first book. But that's slightly more dynamic than me just saying that Dahmer rolls his motorcycle to the end of the parking garage. Anyway, now you know what I'm going to be doing for the next half hour. I'm going to stop talking and do it. I'm going to be doing 30-minute sprints today because I find that I need the longer focus time when I am working on edits. Hey, Jay Chili, how's it going? What is up? We're just about to start deep focusing for the day. When are you starting your next tale of personal terror? When will you actually start writing it? Because I know you did the interview. So is there a writing stream planned for when that will be happening? Next Sunday. Nice. I don't know how much I'll be able to tune in while we are in Ontario, but I'll try to drop by, try to see how it goes. Yeah, so we're doing 30-minute sprints today because I find that I need the deeper focus when I'm working on the editing process versus just trying to do quick, spurts of activity when I'm writing. So I'm going to be quiet for most of the next 30 minutes. I will try to keep an eye on chat and not leave you guys hanging too high and dry. But feel free to keep chatting. You don't have to wait for me to reply, of course. And hopefully there'll be some clicky clacking along the way. Let me find the right timer. I have so many of them now. Here we go. Desiree Mortega, hello. Thank you so much for the raid. please, please let me know if I said your name wrong. I do tend to be horrible with names. Welcome in. What were you working on today? I hope the words went well. Is it... I'm gonna say everyone's name wrong. I'm sorry, my brain is not working well today. TL Russ Lifestyle? I'm probably saying that wrong. Hello, hello, welcome in. Lauren Nettles, hello, welcome in. And hello! How's it going? I feel like I haven't talked to you in ages. I hope the words have flowed for you all today. We're just getting started on edits, so I might be a little quiet here. That is it. Okay. I was trying to make sure that my brain divided all the names properly, but you can call me Tiff. Hey Tiff, how's it going? Oh, look at this cute little emote. I love that. Little pumpkin. My name was said correctly. Yours I know, Anne. Yours I know. It can take me a little bit of time and repetition to remember your name, so please forgive me if you need to correct me a few times. Mostly admin and ghostwriting stuff. Nice! I hope it went well. Tuesday's been pretty busy so far. I spent the morning outlining the edits that I've just now started on this book. Laura Nettles, thank you so much for the follow. So yeah, we're just getting started. There's going to be a lot of me staring intently at the screen, so I apologize in advance. But it's going pretty well. I'm really excited to be digging into edits for this book. Desiree, thank you so much for the follow. Again, please let me know if I'm not saying your names right. Especially on Twitch, it can be really hard to see like where the spaces in words are. Hazelnut, hello! Oh no, the raid left you behind. I'm glad that you found us. Staring intently is par for the course. That's true. We writers do a lot of staring intently. Right now I've created a huge sentence and I'm trying to make sure it's punctuated properly. I can tell I paid special attention to the writing of this opening. Hazelnut, thank you so much for the follow. Popped up in my recommended list, thank goodness. Oh, well, I'm so glad that you found us. That's the most important thing. I know I've had a few raids go awry recently where I had one where I was the only one it sent and I felt terrible. I chew my tongue when thinking, so that's fun. I have a friend who does that as well. My best friend from high school, every time she's like writing something, she chews on her tongue too. Speak of the devil, there she is now! Hey Flutter, how's it going? We summoned you into the chat. Got in trouble a lot for that in elementary school. They kept accusing me of having gum. Oh no! I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm so familiar with that because my lovely friend Flutterdye, who's just appeared in the chat, did that all through high school. I've always thought it's adorable, personally. I'm sure I have some weird thing that I do when I'm focusing, but people just haven't drawn that much attention to it. I do know a couple times my husband has done the like, "Are you there?" And I'm like, "Oh, sorry, I was thinking." I can tell that I paid special attention to writing this opening because the first few paragraphs are pretty good. I picked my bottom lip. Can't tell you how many times I've made it bleed. Oh no. I feel like I used to chew on my nails, but I started painting them so they would taste really gross, and I broke the habit. But I'm sure there must be something, maybe not while I'm on stream because I'm more aware of like the fact that people are watching me, but I feel like there's got to be something that I do when I'm focused and I'm just not aware of it. I full on stick my tongue out if I'm hyper focused on a project. Yeah, I remember when I first noticed Flutter doing that when we were younger. It's the stuck out chewing on tongue thing. I think we all just have like, because I know I go into autopilot a lot, like when I'm doing housework and stuff too, and I'll just kind of snap out of it and realize, oh, I did that thing already that I was thinking about doing. I've already done it. It's finished. Also, I feel like my camera got knocked around here. So I know there's probably something that I do when I'm focusing as well. I mean, on the one hand, it's good to have like an autopilot routine because then you just don't have to think about it. But every now and then it freaks me out where I'm like, oh, I did all that stuff, but I don't remember doing it. Comf, hello. How's it going? Are you still working? Are you finishing up the rest of your workday? I have a really unnecessary sentence in there, so maybe I'll just kid it. Yes, it works much better without. still working. I hope it's going well. It's going pretty good. Slow start, because it's me, and slow starts seem to be how I function these days. But starting to get into it. Have you experienced feelings of inadequacy during writing, and if so, do you have the words of wisdom to share? Only every day, one vamp. Like, I also have absolute confidence in my stories, and I believe in my characters and my worlds. But some days it's just really tough. Some days I just want to burn it all and maybe not start again. And it's hard. Writing can be really hard. I just want to remind you that creativity is a cycle. Every time you start a draft, every time you finish a draft, you are a better writer than you were when you started, and that is kind of the good thing and the bad thing. Because you're better than when you started, you can see all the problems that you didn't catch the last time, and so you're always sort of beating yourself, right? You're always sort of seeing the bad things that you didn't notice instead of noticing the good things that you've learned. So my advice is focus on how much better each draft is. Focus on what you learn each time you write something. Trust that you've done to the best of your ability what you can to tell that story. And if you're feeling really disheartened with the project, take a break from it. Write something totally for fun. Rediscover why you have a passion for writing. Remind yourself why you do this, and then go back to the project and sort of try to look at it with new eyes. But always remember that the blessing and the curse of creativity is that you learn by doing. And the more you learn, the more flaws you can see in your own work. But you can also try to get other people's eyes on your stuff, because other people see the good things instead of the mistakes that we can only see for ourselves. So give yourself credit for what you've learned and what you've done, and try not to listen to the demons of doubt who claw their way into your brain and tell you that you're not good enough. Because sadly, they don't necessarily ever go away, but if you can learn to beat them with a baseball bat, it does make things a little bit easier. I often find your talks about your work and your answers to random chatters very inspiring. Oh, one vamp. I'm so glad to hear that. That's why I'm here, and that's why I do this. I'm sorry that I'm being so quiet. I'm trying to focus during the sprint. But we can definitely, of course, talk more during the break if there's more you want to say or talk about. But I know I've definitely been. I know I don't show it on stream very often because it wouldn't be very inspiring, obviously. But I've definitely felt the drag of why am I doing this? What do I think I'm trying to write about? Because we all have bad days, which is not to minimize your experience, but to reassure you that no matter how confident a creative might seem on camera, there are days off camera where they just want to throw their computer out a window. So yeah, 100%. Yeah, Flutter is one of the people who gets my OMG, I'm such a failure messages. So 100%, it's all about learning how to deal with those demons when they come for you. And to keep going, no matter what. I think as long as you keep going, you'll beat those doubts. Even when it doesn't seem like that's possible. Here's a question. When do we capitalize police? There's no need to capitalize police unless it's being used as part of the full name of a particular police force. No. So actually, making it worse. I was already doing it right. Gonna run some errands, but I'll throw a lurk on. Thank you so much for lurking, Flutter. I hope your errands go well and quickly, and that you're able to come home and relax after. At least until Ghost starts tormenting you with D&D. Oh, Ghost Pepper just got home. I'm gonna stop there actually because I see that the timer has run down. Got about 2 1/3 pages done. Not bad, considering I had to go through the opening a few times there. About 3 pages left. Not too shabby. I am going to take a quick break and hop AFK. 1, because I heard Ghost Pepper is home, and I need to reassure him that he can come steal his camera whenever he needs it. And 2, I'm going to brew myself some tea, because it is tea time. So I'm going to be gone for about 5-7 minutes. Please take this opportunity to get up, move around, stretch, use the restroom, take your meds if you need to. And I will be back for a proper chat break, and then we'll do some more edits. So I will see you in a few minutes. I've returned. Hello, Woof. Hello, how's it going? Are you excited about D&D tonight? Feeling really good about the second chapter of my project. Might get a sneak peek of my Dream Mage character soon. Nice! Laurel, I'm glad to hear it's going so well. Yes, I have tea now. I decided on green passion fruit for the day. Very excited. Haven't had this one in a while. Burrito Hero 7. Hello. Welcome in. How's it going? Finally leveled my character. Ooh, did you guys level? Oh yeah, I seem to remember you did level up. What level are you guys now? Are you level 11? Breaking deeper into those double digits. Nice. Did you take a level of rogue or a level of paladin? The all-important question. Because you get different things depending on which you took. And what is Mazra's breakdown now? How many levels does she have in each? I'm very curious. Oh no, the thing started without me. I'm not ready yet. Also, one vamp, if you're still hanging out and you still want to chat, please let me know. I hope it didn't seem like I was blowing you off before. Just try to focus I try to focus during the focus portions, but that was a pretty serious message, so I wanted to make sure you knew I was watching, listening, and I'm here for you. I'm cheering for you. Went with Paladin. It was something of a difficult choice, but that seemed best for the moment. She's 5 Rogue, 6 Paladin. Interesting. Interesting that you haven't gotten some of those. Have you gotten evasion yet? I know you have the uncanny dodge, but have you gotten... Because evasion is really useful. I'm surprised you haven't gone for that, but I think it's like level 8 or something. Also, reliable talent, but I think rogues get that at level 10. That's rogue 7, so far. Yeah, it's a higher level thing though, because uncanny dodge, for anyone who's like, the hell are you guys talking about? In Dungeons & Dragons, rogues get 2 abilities. One is named Uncanny Dodge, and one is named Evasion, and I sometimes get mixed up which is which. One of them allows the rogue to take half damage. Hang on, I think one of my things might not be playing. Fixed it. One of them allows a rogue to take half the damage they take once per turn. So if you get struck by a hit, you can half the damage once per turn by using your reaction to uncannily dodge. The other, evasion, is for area of effect attacks. So if you suffer the effects of an area of attack spell or whatever, you get half damage on a failed save and no damage on a successful save, which is why it's such a higher level. You have an aura now, though. Sweet. What kind of aura does Oath of Vengeance Paladin get? Because I remember Oath of the Ancients, the one that I took for Darfin, his, I believe, was the anti-magic one. It was either the anti-magic or the anti-frighten one. I don't remember which came first. I know he had 2 auras. One was if you were within 5 feet of him, you couldn't be frightened, which is hella cool. And one was if you were I think, within 10 feet of him, you would take half damage on magical attacks, which again, hella cool. He was level 14. Mine is the one that gives advantage on saving throws. Nice! Oh, that is super, super useful. Especially for the aforementioned AoE. So I can see how you would want that. Ghost Pepper is here to make note of the abilities. I'm curious to see how Flutter I mean, if it's what you get, it's what you get. He doesn't really get to approve it. I'm curious to see how Flutter leveled Kiona. Also, Ghost Pepper Wolf, who is hosting Winds of Chaos tonight, please give that person a shout out. I figured you were taking note so that you could be aware. Please give a shout out to whoever is hosting tonight, in case you guys wonder what we are talking about. My lovely husband, Ghost Pepper. I think it's Flutter. I think she was the next one in the rotation, but I'm not sure. So he can destroy you, yes. My lovely husband, Ghost Pepper, who's just popped into the chat. Hello, Ghost Pepper, by the way. Runs a D&D every Tuesday on Twitch, called Winds of Chaos. He is the GM. The players are the lovely Flutterdye, It's Woof, and Cauliflumps. Plus, they have some fairly, they have guests fairly regularly, not necessarily always the same people guesting. And that will be tonight at 6:30 PST, which is why I said earlier that Ghost Pepper might come in and steal my camera at 6 o'clock if I'm still going. Hey, Super Train Station H! Not on the F train this time. Welcome in, how's it going? Just found your channel. I'm trying to be a writer myself, and this looks like a good place to hang out and write. Well, I hope that it is, Burrito Hero. That is why we're here. I'm going to stop talking in a minute and go back to focus. We are doing 30-minute sprints today, which is a bit longer than I usually do, but I am editing, so I need the extra... Ghost. I need the extra focus time. I usually do 20-minute sprints when I'm writing, or 25, depending on how deep focus I need to go, and 30-minute sprints when I'm editing, and I am editing today. I'm editing book 7 in a series that I've been working on since 2019, the Aruvalia Chronicles. It is a high fantasy epic that takes place in a modern-day world. I described it to the nurse who did my blood draw last week as Lord of the Rings, but you get a Starbucks after, and she loved that. So I guess I'm using that as my elevator pitch now. But yeah, if you have any questions, if you need any inspiration, our chat is really great for throwing ideas out there, and I will do my best to answer any questions that people have. Rune Wolf, hello, how's it going? What is up? So for anyone who is interested in that D&D that we were talking about, check out that channel that Ghost Pepper shouted out, Flutterdye. I believe that is where they will be tonight. Doing the regular. It's a lot of different things, including a play on words that only works in ASL. I'm so interested now. I'm so interested in what it is. I love play on words. I don't, unfortunately, know a lot of American Sign Language, though, so I might not be able to know the play on words. Full of a toque, I need a Venti Grande. Yes! Yes! Get me that Venti Grande! Full of a toque, I ordered a Venti. In bacon! In bacon! I don't know why I'm so silly today. No, I do know why I'm so silly today. It's because I worked so hard on this outline this morning, and so far these edits are going really well. I'm sure at some point I'm going to be working on these edits and I am going to hate everything and I'm going to want to flip the tables, but right now this scene feels super solid, which I'm very happy about. I have to give it a name at some point. I'm thinking of using, there's a bunch of street name combinations in here because it's a high-speed chase and they keep saying which intersections they keep going by, so I'm thinking of using one of the intersections. I should check, actually. What I find as interesting is as time has gone on, the average length of a scene in a novel that I've written gets longer. So when I was writing the first 2 trilogies of the Celestial Serenade, my average length of a scene was 2,000 words. By the time I finished the last trilogy of the Celestial Serenade and the first trilogy in Aruvalia Chronicles, I was closer to 3,000 words, and I've noticed at the end of book 12 of the Aruvalia Chronicles, my average scene length is closer to 3.54. So this one is just over 3,000, which is pretty solid for a scene that's 90% action. And I think if I trace... I think if I trace where the actual action starts, which is right around where I stopped, 1,899, so I'm just shy of 2,000 words of the action, so I might not need to expand this, which would be nice. The Big Apricot, the world building for the island of Sodar. Oh, is the Hang on, I missed something. I gotta scroll back up. I missed things. It has to do with the association between the sign for the letter H and the idea of trains, along with the model of the house I grew up in and the subway line that was 1,000 feet from my house. That's so cool. And the fact that I'm from New York. That is so cool. I love plays on words of all forms. I am also very interested in... I didn't get a chance to post in the D&D section because I was so busy this weekend running D&D. But a mathemagician is such a cool idea. I'm just so intrigued. Just picking up on finally trying to finish this short story challenge and enjoying my mathematician villain. I'm so curious. I want to know so much more about the mathematician. It sounds amazing. And I think you said he's going to be the big bad for your D&D campaign. That sounds so epic. The Big Apricot. The world building for the island of Sodar started when Reverend Audrey had to map out a race between Thomas and Bertie mile by mile to prove to his kids that the race was fair. So the street time detail is interesting. That is very interesting to me. The idea that world building started because you had to map out a race. I actually have really enjoyed reading back over this scene because I specifically tried to come up with street name combos that sounded both modern and fantasy. So like when the scene starts out, the main character says that he's at Starfall and Prospect. So Prospect is a very common street name in our world, but I don't think there's necessarily a lot of Starfall streets. So I'm at Starfall and Prospect, and they say a suspect just sped past Luna Phoenix and Ironwood. And then later, they break in and say, inbound agent, please advise the inbound agent that the suspect just swerved down Hawthorne toward the Heritage District. For once in my life, I came up with names when I wrote a scene, and it worked so well. And I'm so excited about it. My prologue and first chapter are both 1,200 words plus. First chapter is closer to 1,300. Nice! I usually don't pay too much attention to how long my scenes are, I should say. But I am curious as to the fact that I just naturally write longer scenes now than I used to. It just kind of evolved that way. It's never been, like, intentional. And I don't know if it's because I have more to say now, or if it's because I cram a lot more story into a short time span now. The original Thomas the Tank Engine books have literal Tolkien tier lore that the modern franchise is terrified to touch. I didn't know that! When you start with street names, it's easy to get pulled into mapping everything. I need to stop and ask, okay, what do we actually need? No, I feel you. And I have like, dozens of notes that will never even like make it into a novel ever. So it's cool to have a little something sometimes. And it makes the city feel more real that they're talking about places that they know. Because I think the key detail too is they mention a bunch of these street combos, and I don't necessarily need to explain where they are because Dahmerin lives in this city, so he knows where they are. But when they start talking about the Heritage District, then that's where I start dropping little bits of world building, like, okay, the Heritage District is downtown, it's in the heart of the city. It's not the kind of place that a criminal would usually intersect because it's crawling with the authorities to begin with. And so it starts to sort of build into more and more interesting details about sort of what's happening. Normally, I've talked about this before, that normally when I do a first draft, I don't name things. A lot of my characters don't get names until the second draft, and like, unless they're like a really actually important, what you would consider PC character, a player character versus a non-player character. All my NPCs don't get names until the second draft. So the fact that I actually took the time to name a bunch of shit while I was writing something is impressive. Each town in the island of Sodar has pages and pages of history dating back to being occupied by the Romans. And then on almost the last page, it's like, and then in present day they built a train station. That's so cool, though. I hope you get to use some of that in the story. Also love the fact that the spells have to do with math, like subtracts enemies or items. The lower the roll for subtract, the better it works. Multiplicity, for example, can multiply any item. Also, if it's a weapon you multiply, or a person you copy, they gain an additional boost based on the level of your math magician. This sounds so fucking cool! The higher the roll, the better. If it's lower, then it subtracts the boost. He's our main big bad, but I love how, Malevolent, Mersaring? Is there... I feel like there's an end to that sentence that I missed. He sounds so cool, though! I love the idea that, like, when you cast a spell... Mersaring! I see. I was reading that wrongly. Surprise, surprise, I messed up a name! No, that's so cool. I love the idea that, like, you cast a spell and roll a die, and then based on... It's kind of like wild magic, right? Like, you cast a spell, you roll a die, and you see how it turns out. I think that's so cool. Math, alchemy, and metaphysics were all intertwined in our world historically. Very true. Haven't tried writing a novel yet. I'm trying to work on a short story first to get good at the basics of writing before taking on a bigger project. No worries, Burrito Hero. That's a great idea. I do lots of practice. Usually on Fridays, I write shorts. We won't get to do one this week because Ghost Pepper and I are headed out of town next week, so I won't be doing one of those for a little while. Not until we get back, but I just like to have stuff that I write for fun, for world building, to practice techniques. Practicing writing stuff is a great idea. Oh, by the way, I found a way to find the distance of objects. My characters need to have names or I won't remember who I'm writing about. I mean, my main characters do get names. I tend to think of my novel characters as PCs and NPCs, which are more tabletop gaming terms. But basically, all of the characters that would have a player sheet who are important, that level up in the RPG, they get names in the first draft. And everyone who's just like that guy that you conveniently need to interact with, or this minor character who pops up a few times but is easy to denote by their description, they don't get names until the second draft. And sometimes it's a problem because sometimes those characters do end up being important, and I have to be like, I haven't given this character a name in 5 chapters, I really need to name them. And one time I did give a minor character, a name, and I was too lazy to look it up during one of the scenes, so I didn't say her name in the whole scene, which is going to be fun when I go back to edit it. I liked what a game I recently played has done with names, and they named all their characters after food. Oh, interesting! That is an interesting idea. I am going to do what I said and stop yammering and do more editing, since that's what we're here to do. This is a productivity stream. I can hear my husband being like, write stuff! Actually, I hear him sneezing, but that's what he's thinking. He likes to sass me about how little productivity I do on my productivity stream. So we're going to do 30 minutes of focus for productivity. And I am going to go back to my high-speed car chase. I'm curious to see if, because I remember feeling very unconfident about this scene when I wrote it, I'm very curious to see if I actually like it better now, or if I think that the scene goes to shit once I hit the action. I'm very interested to see. Connecting with people is productive. Thank you, Burrito Hero. I do need to get the work done. Also, in addition. Besides, I also... You guys will probably tell me that I'm wrong, but I feel like I always feel like my stuff isn't as interesting as I think it is. So sometimes when I start to, like, really geek out about, like, yeah, my world building, or yeah, my characters, I start to feel like I sound boring. Which you guys often reassure me is not the case. But I don't want to bore you guys with uninteresting things. Hey, Element Eds, how's it going? Any characters I mentioned need names or my brain short circuits? I mean, I'm too lazy. I'm too lazy to give them, if they wouldn't have a D&D character sheet, they need to wait for a name. I'm too lazy. Let's put 30 minutes on the clock. And let's see how this scene looks. It goes well. I decided to delay my workday and had a nap. That sounds divine. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was a lovely nap. I hope you're feeling refreshed. I don't get to nap often enough. And I do love naps. I used to be the master of the power nap. I like trained myself to wake up after 15 or 20 minutes. It was divine. But I don't do it much anymore. Naps are tricksy. Because you want to wake up before you fall into that deep level of sleep. If you fall into that stage 3 sleep and you try to wake up, that's when you feel groggy. Gotta wake up from that stage 1 sleep before you get deep into it. Unless you're having like a 4-hour nap, then you just go all the way through the cycle, and that's glorious too. Naps are wonderful, but when you have to have them, they can get a bit old. True. True. I just need like 10 more hours in a day, really. That wouldn't help me feel more rested, would it? Do we hyphenate one-way street? Apparently you do. Apparently we do. Whoops, that's not a hyphen. I put an equals sign in. I put an equals sign in, you guys. That little octopus fell. I fix them. Equals hyphen the same, right? They both use little lines. Sometimes my brain just does a thing, and it's so funny to me that instead of, I mean, they are right beside each other on the keyboard. I guess it's not that funny, but it was pretty funny. Because when I type, I don't often think about like what key I'm hitting. I just think about what I need to do and let my fingers. So the fact that I was like hyphen and my fingers went for the equal sign is just for some reason hilarious to me. I think there's a spider on my leg. Have a small heart attack. It was a cat. Oh my goodness. I'm so glad it was a cat. I know where you live. I would be terrified if it was a spider. Oh my goodness. I don't even live there and I'm terrified of your spiders. I feel like I couldn't live where you live because I would have to burn the house down every time I thought there was a barest hint of a spider in it. I would just live in perpetual terror. I'm too much of a baby for your part of the world. I will heartily admit that. I guess it makes sense, because I know I've talked to other people who are like, yeah, there's a spider the size of my hand over there, but I don't feel like dealing with it. And I'm like, I'm just gonna be over here crying in the corner. I have a giant house spider in my bathroom. It's his bathroom now. Yep. I would have to burn the house down, Gatly. I would. This is why I couldn't live there. Part of me is like, they wouldn't let me in anyway. They'd take one look at me and be like, you wouldn't survive here. You have to go home. You wouldn't survive here. This is an interesting sentence because the sentence was literally, I'm going to try to take out the tires, which feels like too much. It feels like too bulky of a sentence for an emergency situation, but this character is too formal to say, I'm gonna. So I'm like, okay, how do I shorten the sentence without making it sound like something this character would never say? So I've spent an inordinate amount of time trying to decide how to shorten this sentence, which isn't even that long to begin with. But that's what you do when you're trying to do your character voice stuff. Neo, hello. Thank you so much for the raid. I didn't realize you were I almost said I didn't realize you were raiding today. I didn't realize you were streaming today. Neo, how is it going, my friend? Dead by Daylight? How did it go? How did your games go? I was taking a shower and he was in the tub with me shampooing his hair. I don't think I could share, real talk, I don't think I could share a tub with the spider. I feel like I would have to learn to bathe in the sink. Neo, how's it going, my friend? You guys are probably like, she's exaggerating. I'm not exaggerating. Like, ask Ghost Pepper how I react to spiders that are like this big. If there was a spider the size of my palm, I think I would just die. Not feeling the best today, so I played against bots. Well, I hope you feel better, Neo. I hope you're getting some rest. Did you have your test yet to find out if you can stop taking your medication? Did that happen, or is that still pending? I'm doing pretty good. I'm a little bit silly this afternoon, I will admit, but I'm doing pretty good. caps lock randomly turned on. It's my day off, so why not stream? Of course. The medication continues. So is that is that post-test or pre-test? And if you have had the test already, did they say how long you go back to retest? You don't have to answer, obviously, if it's too personal, but being someone who has to go every 6 to 8 weeks for blood tests, I know what it's like. Feeling exhausted all day long. I'm so sorry to hear that. My doctor called to me at 4 p.m. tomorrow. I have an appointment for the dosage. I see. So this is like you took the test and then you have the follow-up with him tomorrow to let you know. It's better, but my blood is still so thick the risk of blood clot is too high. I'm sorry to hear that, Neil, but it's best to stay on the medication as long as you need. I mean, as someone who has been 4.5 months on medication where they regularly need to monitor my hormone levels, I get it. It sucks. I'm lucky that I've been getting sort of the max amount of time between monitoring. He hasn't wanted me to go in every 3 or 4 weeks. It's always 6 to 8 weeks. So I usually go every 7. No, Neo, your English is fine. What? I understand exactly what you're saying. It's all good, my friend. I'm just curious because, like I said, it's different medication. It's a different condition, but I'm in a similar situation where my doctor contacts me mostly through email, but he basically messages me, says, this is how your test results came back. This is how much medication to take for now. Check in this many weeks. What's going on? And then at the appointed time, I go and let them prick me with the needle and rinse, repeat. So, but I was very fortunate that they lowered my dosage the last time. So hopefully they're able to do something like that for you. Hopefully you're able to start feeling a little bit more energy again. Because I know it sucks to be tired all day, especially if it's partly because of a medical condition. My doctor doesn't believe in email. To him, a doctor must talk to his patients. I'm perfectly happy with my endocrinologist emailing me. He's a little awkward to talk to. I've never met him in person, though. We've only ever talked over the phone. I do appreciate that he's very matter of fact. He will just cut straight to the chase. And as someone who is not a small talk person, I appreciate that he's like, here's the information. I don't always understand the information, but he's like, here's the information. Here's what you do. What are your questions? Here are the answers. Okay, bye. I appreciate that because I know not everybody likes that. His bedside manner is probably not the greatest based on our phone conversations. But for a situation like this where I just want like cold hard facts, I do appreciate that sometimes. I think there's a time and a place for just, obviously if I was like dying, I would want him to actually be sympathetic, but luckily I'm not. So I mean, not any quicker than anybody else anyway. timer finished. I didn't even notice. We've only got about a page, maybe a little less left, which is perfect. Probably won't need the full 30 for our last focus. I'll probably just do, I might even just do, I don't think I have a 15-minute timer. We'll see. We might just do a 20. Let me see. I am sure I missed a few things during the sprint. Find a theme like food I mentioned earlier. Maybe look at a list of cake names and condense or add the name to make it interesting. That's such a cool idea. I know nothing about Dead by Daylight, but I am looking at your messages about it. The drone things are nice if you place it well. You can cover guns or loops. Interesting. Oh, generators. I see. Nobody dies. We're living in someone else's memory forever. Good, bad. The memories are Pepper Pog. Hey, I'll take that form of immortality. Why do you think I write? My stories will survive me. They're my legacy. Like, 10 people might read them after I die. That'd be amazing. It's 1 a.m. and I'm trying to be clever? No, I think you're being plenty clever, Neo. You're also being clever in a language that's not your native language. That's pretty dang clever, my friend, if I do say so, which I do. If you don't want to be stressed, don't play Dead by Daylight. Honestly, I don't play any of those sort of games. Anything that's like a survival game or like a shooter game. I don't play those games because they require skill, and I don't have skills. Especially if it's a team game. If other people are relying on me to know what I'm doing in a game, that's too stressful for me because I don't know what I'm doing in games. I did manage to play Hades. I will say, I genuinely believed that I would not be able to play Hades. I really liked the look of it. I really wanted to know the story. But I was like, this is a game where you actually have to learn the combat and you actually have to, at a certain point, know what you're doing in order to advance in the game. It's not as bad as like Dark Souls. It's not like you will die repeatedly. It's a roguelite. So, but the idea is that you build up your resources as you run through the game time and time again, and you're stronger and stronger as you go on, which helps. Like you unlock more life and you unlock more power and all that kind of stuff and more abilities. I cannot play Dark Souls, Neo. I don't have skills. I don't know if you missed the part where I said I don't have skills, but I don't have skills. I actually think I have really bad hand-eye coordination because I just don't have really good reflexes in games, if that makes sense. Like, it takes me a long time to hit the button. So I see something and I don't react to it very quickly. So I think that Hades is a little bit more forgiving. Oh, thank you, Burrito Hero 7, for the follow. I really appreciate it. I think Hades is a little more forgiving in that, like, you don't have to perfectly parry and you don't have to, like, your timing doesn't have to be ultra exact. I mean, obviously the game rewards you for being more efficient and effective and perfect. But it's forgiving enough that, like, I can play it. It definitely has a learning curve. The beginning of the game is definitely daunting because there's a lot to learn. I do feel like if I can learn to play a game, anyone can learn to play a game, because I I cannot stress enough to you guys, my hand-eye coordination is bad. Like, my game skills are bad. I'm just really bad at games. I usually play on easy mode. Case in point, Burrito Hero, if you do want to play Hades and you find that it's difficult for you, go into the menu and turn on God mode. A lot of people will tell you that it's cheating, but what God mode does is it gives you a modifier based on the amount of times you've died. So it will basically make the hits hit less hard based on how many times you've died. So if you're seriously stuck in the game and you've died like 20 times, then the game will make it essentially... It's not necessarily easier. I don't feel like it actually makes the game easier because I've used God mode a couple of times because I just couldn't progress in the game without it. It's built in. I don't think it's cheating because it's built in. The devs put it there specifically for people like me who suck at games. I can't get good. It's just, I'm incapable of getting good. That's not me being like self-deprecating. I just don't have the skill for those kind of games. But it does help you. It basically makes the enemies hit less hard, if that makes sense. So the game is still the same. I still think it's very challenging, but it just mitigates how hard you get hit by the enemies. And that game does have, I will say, there's a point at which the difficulty in that game ramps up. And if you can't get good like me, it just becomes like beating your head against a wall. So 100% if you're like, I had to give up on Hades because it got hard, try God mode. It saved me from that part of the game. But honestly, I understand. I did manage to play Hades. I have like, I think it took me 3 times longer to play that game than everybody else I know because it took me over 100 runs to beat the story. And I know people who beat it in like 30. To put it in perspective how like bad I am at games. But I did manage to beat Hades. I'm fairly proud of that. But I don't play a lot of games that require like precision or skill because I'm just not very good at it. I'm better at like old style RPGs which have like turn timers because I can pause and think about what I'm doing and not just panic smash buttons. And if a game is designed to not allow you to panic smash buttons, oops, because I panic smash buttons a lot. So anyway, that's not me saying that, like I don't like games like Dead by Daylight or I don't like games like Hades or Dark Souls or whatever. I tend to watch people play those games instead of playing them myself because I'm not good at them. And I play a lot of like story-oriented stuff like dating sims, and RPGs and that kind of stuff. Because they don't require me to get really... I'm kind of good at the, I can pause this and tell the members of my team to do a bunch of stuff, and then they do it in the game, and I don't have to push buttons at the right time, versus you have to hit the button exactly when the sword is flying at you, or you'll get hit. I can't do that. I have nothing but respect, though, for people who can do... Like, Elden Ring... I played that game once for 5 minutes. I accidentally did a backstab, and I stopped playing the game because I'll never be as good as that moment that I accidentally hit the backstab button. But I just can't play games like those. I don't have the patience and I don't have the skill. I've been addicted to Backpack Hero. I think I've heard of that one. I've not tried it, but I've heard about it. I usually play games on easy. I have no shame in saying it. Same. I want a story experience. I mostly play games because I want a story experience. And I think some people think that if you can't get really skilled at a game that you shouldn't play the game because you could never get the full experience. But like, I just want to have an experience. And if I can't do the skill thing, then I won't have that experience, if that makes sense. I think that it's a really individual thing, and everybody experiences games or stories, because that's what a lot of games are, like, in their own way. So if you're having fun, and I love point and click adventures, Burrito Hero, they are my favorite. I get frustrated with them sometimes because I feel like they employ a lot of what we like to call moon logic. And as soon as they get really moon logical, I'm like, how would I ever have thought about that? But I love point and click adventures. I adore them. I also play a lot of those. But yeah, I think as long as you're having fun and you're enjoying yourself, it doesn't necessarily matter how you have that experience, because me playing a game on easy mode does not prevent another person from playing it on normal or hard or extremely hard or whatever. And doesn't take away from, like, another person's accomplishment just because I just wanted a story. Because otherwise, if I can't play it on easy mode, I just watch somebody else play it so that I know what the story was. No shame in that. I do the same if I want a challenge or like the game enough to try a higher difficulty, all the better. Exactly. Some people want a story and some people want a challenge. The only games that I really try hard are Dark Souls 2 and Bloodborne. Those games I always try the hardest challenges, but it's a personal challenge. Exactly. And I know so many people who love those games and enjoy the hell out of those games, which is great. I hope that by me saying I don't play Dark Souls because I can't get good, it doesn't sound like I'm, like, disparaging Dark Souls, because I'm not. I know a lot of people who love those games and have sunk hours and hours into those games, and I like watching them play the game because then I get to see the experience and learn the story, but I don't have to get frustrated, if that makes sense. That to me is like one of the cool things about streaming, is I can go on a friend's stream and I can see them experience something that I know I wouldn't experience myself because I wouldn't enjoy it, and I can share that with them. Tallulah, hello. I hope I'm remembering how to say your name properly. Hello, hello. How's it going? We're just having a small interlude here before our last productivity sprint, which I will have to start soon because I am going to have to wrap up right around 6 so that, or at least start wrapping up so that Ghost Pepper can steal his camera back. But how's it going? How you doing? I've done that with God of War since I don't have a PS4 5. Such a great story. I know. I always watch, for the new games at least, I've watched all of the games. I actually watched my brother play one of them quite a bit. But the new games I've been watching Jesse Cox and The Completionist. I haven't watched the latest one. I need to start getting into it. But I watched them play it. And I think they play it on hard, which is like... I sit there and I'm like, I couldn't do this. I said it right. Hooray. How's it going, Tallulah? But I really just want to know what the story is. I'm really interested in how they took the mythology and turned it into this other story, and how they've started to blend the mythology between like the Greek and the Norse stuff. So I just watch people play them, because if I turn on that game, it's gonna go poorly. Right now, I played against bots in Dead by Daylight, and a person called me a noob because they considered it being bad. No, I mean, I don't know why people get so hardcore about stuff, but, like, it's all about having fun. If you're having fun, who cares about anything else? I need to pop away for just 1 minute and reheat my tea, and then I'll come back to start the timer for the final productivity. I've only got, like I said, about a page left to go, so we shan't be too much longer before we have to start wrapping up, but we'll get a little bit more productivity in. Finish this scene. I'm actually really happy. I thought as soon as I hit the action bits, it would all go to garbage, but it hasn't, and I'm very relieved. Working on a short story that was supposed to be a romance, but it ended up becoming a coming of age. Ooh, interesting. That sounds fun. Good luck with it, Tallulah. I hope that you're enjoying it, because that's the most important thing. I have a soft spot in my heart for both romances and coming of age stories. So I think it's awesome that it ended up being a coming of age. I've done that a couple of times where I didn't necessarily realize that I had set out to tell a story, and then it kind of becomes what it becomes. And it's always very interesting to discover the story as you go. I'll be back in 1 minute. Have a little bit of cute Domerin while you wait. Bird of Inferno, hello, hello. Sorry about that. You did catch me just as I headed out. But I am back. I was just heating up my tea quick. How's it going? How you doing? You're just in time for the last sprint. I'm going to do a 20-minute sprint for this one. Don't be surprised if midway through Ghost Pepper comes in and asks for his camera. I shall adjust accordingly if need be. I'm pretty sure I will be able to wrap up this edit within that 20 minutes, and then of course we can raid. But we're gonna have some more focus time coming up to reclaim my. That is true. In case I haven't made it clear, I have stolen Ghost Pepper's camera. It is his. He will be taking it for what he needs it for. And and he has rightful claim to it. It's my fault for running a bit late. Watching Critical Role, nice. Which season are you watching? I am currently working my way through the latest episode, the Apogee Solstice, and I'm very stressed out about the situation. No spoilers, spoken by me. Because I haven't finished the episode yet, and also I would never spoil it, but I am watching the latest episode, and I am stressed. I also started watching the Exandria Unlimited Calamity short, which is amazing, but also stressful. You should consider raiding into Flutter when you're finished. I mean, I'm going to be raiding in probably 20 minutes, and you guys don't usually start up until right around 6:30. But if you guys are live when I raid, then I will raid into Flutter, but I don't want to stay live an extra, 20 minutes, if that makes sense. If you guys go to, the starting soon screen so that I can raid you guys, then I 100% will. Watching Campaign 3. Yes! I love Campaign 3. Haven't watched 1 or 2, but I know quite a bit from clips. And I'm only on episode 14. Nice! You have a lot of really heartwarming and also stressful things to look forward to. Yeah, so unfortunately, I probably won't get to raid you. But if it happens, it happens. Not to be like, no, I don't want to raid you. I need to do things off stream too. Much as I would love to stay and just hang out for an extra like 30 minutes with everybody, I also have other stuff to do. Ghost Pepper, if you're gonna sass me, get your ass upstairs and do it in person. I don't need this text sass, even though I do it to you every week on D&D. I'm really annoyed at the comment section right now because I got a spoiler for the episode and I'm super concerned. Oh no! Every now and then I do that too, Bird of Inferno. I will admit, I try not to look at the comment section and sometimes my curiosity just gets the better of me and I'm like, damn it, why did I scroll down? Anyway, since we're so known for being very tightly running on time, let's start our last sprint. Are you for sure on Flutterdye's channel? I think you gave a shout out earlier, but let me do another one. Shout out to Flutterdye where Dungeons and Dragons will be happening tonight. It must be because she's already changed it to Dungeons and Dragons and I know she changes it ahead of time so she won't forget. So if you're not following my lovely friend Flutterdye, first of all, follow her because she's amazing. She does a ton of different types of streams, sometimes games, sometimes crafting. And also Dungeons and Dragons, which is happening tonight. It is run by the lovely Ghost Pepper, my husband, who is sassing me in the chat. And also our good friends Flutterdye and Woof and Cauliflumps will be there. So that will be happening tonight. We might not, unless chat would really like to raid into a channel and wait like 20 minutes for something to start. We probably won't get to raid them tonight, but please do head over, give Flutter a follow, give Ghost Pepper a follow, shout out Ghost Pepper, who won't shout out himself, and check them out. That happens every Tuesday at 6:30. They rotate channels. They'll be at Flutter's channel tonight. We're only at the oh shit portion of the stream because Ghost Pepper's gonna want his camera back. I was cleaning after the dog, so I'm glad you didn't start without me. Well, I'm glad I didn't start without you either, although it's mostly Ghost Pepper's fault at this point. Hey, Art by Words, it's going well. We're about... You refuse to shout yourself out, Ghost Pepper. Come on. Ghost Pepper is my husband, Neo. I don't know if you know this, but we're married. Enjoy your lurk, Bird of Inferno. Good luck with the episode. I'm just gonna ignore him and start the timer. It's... hang on. I had turned it up. Clearly I'm well prepared for this. All right, here we go. 20 minutes of focus, and then we'll be done. I'll probably be done by the time Ghost steals the camera, let's be honest. Reclaims, sorry, reclaims. It is his camera. Oh my god, Flutter, your emote popped up right at the end of right at the edge of the screen, and it looked like it was peeking in. That was amazing. Listen, she was so still for a minute I thought my stream froze. That's what my editing streams are, is just me staring into infinity. Also, Meg, hello! Thank you for that hydrate. How are you doing, my friend? A bit pissed off, but getting better after some wine. Heartily agree that wine is very helpful. But what happened, Meg? Is everything okay? Writing a little story just for fun at the moment. Neo, that's awesome. Whose mustard is Ghost Pepper gotta steal? Nobody messes with Meg. The next person who says that they want to educate me on the First Amendment and their rights, I'm going to decapitate and beat with their own limbs. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry that you're dealing with that. It sounds like this was not a one-time incident. It sounds like this is an ongoing thing. Oh my goodness. Ghost Pepper's like just asking for the beat down. I work in a library and a YMCA. I get them constantly. Oh no, Meg, I'm so sorry to hear that. Freedom of speech is not freedom from these hands. I like that, Tallulah. Listen, Ghost Pepper is gonna come in here for his camera. I hear him lurking in the hall. I'll give him a little smack for you if you want, Meg. Just for you. Do you guys see this? Do you guys see this right here? What is happening?
This is a robbery.
Oh no, please, sir. Look at you guys. Look at this. Oh no, sir, please.
Hand over the webcam.
Hang on, I gotta get you in frame. Come a little closer. That's from Meg.
Ow.
A little
Meg.
smacks.
Meg, no.
Alright, let me turn this off so it doesn't actually, like, break anything.
Yeah, so it doesn't bug out.
Oop, that's the display capture. That's the face cam. Alright. Please, sir, don't hurt me with your sword.
Thank you.
Enjoy your D&D. Oh my god, that was so hilarious. Oh my god, you guys. That was my husband, Ghost Pepper. Ladies and gentlemen, for anyone who that was their first experience with him, someone please clip that. That was amazing. I had to call my boss and the library director and let them know what happened, and that I did slam the phone down while he was educating me. Oh no, Meg, I'm so sorry. I hope that they were on your side about it. Also, I hope that Ghost Pepper made you smile. Start a stream right now, invite Collie, and let's talk about it. Ghost impatient behind the door. I heard him for like 2 or 3 minutes in the hallway, and I was like, what's taking so long? I didn't realize he was, like, preparing. Oh, it's never boring in the Cutler household, for sure. They were on my side, and not only did he make me smile, but so did you. Meg, I'm so happy. I'm gonna do my heart down here so it hopefully shows up on camera. We love you. We're happy to be here for you on a bad day, and honestly, if I can make someone's day better, that's the whole reason I'm here. I do remember working in a public-facing job, and I do remember how challenging that could be, and I think people are not always aware of how their behavior and attitude affect the people who are trying to do work for them. And I could go on a lengthy rant about how I think we need to be much more aware of the feelings of service, people who work in any form of service, and treat them with more respect, but instead, I will just say we love you and respect you, and you're always welcome here. Alright. I have reached the end of this scene. First chapter of the book, and my character is already in mortal danger. Huzzah. Really only added a couple of lines to this, but mostly polished it up. I spent a lot of time removing filter words, so things like he could hear this or he could see this, and just sort of going straight into the descriptions, making sure that I'm using my strongest, most active verbs, weeding out the passive voice, focusing on ending emphasis, on making sure that I'm putting the most impact into each sentence. And I'm pretty happy with this. I didn't feel like the action lacked anything. I'm really surprised. I usually have to add quite a bit into my action scenes, so I'm really happy with how that turned out. I am going to... What I'm gonna do is, let me just... I will actually just do this so that we don't need to... So that we don't need to change too much for the end of stream. Here I am, this way, you guys can see me. I'm gonna let that timer finish up for anyone who is focusing. Don't feel rushed to finish off your sprint. You guys are great people. I'm glad to have found you. I'm glad you found us too, Meg. We think you are great. We think you are awesome. We love having you around. The little story I'm writing is about a machine built to kill any kind of life in the universe. Oh, what a happy little machine. It's stuck on a planet that's basically like the moon. The machine is searching for life to kill but can't find any. It starts to call for orders but nobody answered. Then it starts to think about what to do. And it slowly becomes aware of itself as a life form with thoughts. But it also realized that it must kill everyone and everything, so it turned between its new way to go see things or its duty, and finally killed itself as a self-aware android to save people in the future. Neo, that is fascinating. You always come up with these fascinating ideas. I'm so interested. Are you writing this in English or French? Because I would love to read it. Don't feel like you have to write it in English just for me. But damn, that sounds amazing. Gatley, thank you for the cheers. Here is another hydrate for Meg. Thank you for the hydrate. That sounds amazing. I'm fascinated. I'm very interested in this story, in like the evolution of this thing going from mindless to thinking to deciding that the best course of action is to end itself. Hydration is very important, and I do often forget to hydrate myself. So I appreciate that. I appreciate that you guys are always taking care of me on the stream. Man, I'm so glad that first round of edits went well. I was expecting to have to do a lot of rewriting on that action sequence, and I have been writing action sequences for months. So I'm very pleasantly surprised that went so well. I'm looking forward to getting deeper into this book. Editing is not my favorite part of the process, as I said earlier. But I have sort of previewed this story to remember it, because it's been over a year since I wrote it. And I'm excited to see how it looks out the other side, even though I know it's gonna be a long and trying journey. I actually was talking to Ghost Pepper because both he and I are trying to make concerted efforts to hydrate more, to drink more water, and to just generally stay better hydrated. Because it's something we've both kind of realized we are lax in. So I do appreciate that it's something that so many people on Twitch as well are really good about reminding. Not just me, but other streamers, like, oh yeah, get up and move around, or drink something, or sit up from a slouch, or, you know, stretch. Especially me, I gotta stretch my fingies sometimes, because I spend so much of the day typing. Oh my goodness. Fatigue. So I appreciate that self-care is in there. Because we all gotta do that. These meat sacks that we're driving around, they need a lot of maintenance. In my case, I think sometimes too much. But that's how it go. Oh yeah, I have to name this chapter. I kind of want to name it after one of the intersections, but I'm not entirely sure which one. I'm scrolling through the next chapter to see what I might want to name that one. Ooh, there's a part where the character says these were no spur of the moment criminals. I like the idea of calling a chapter spur of the moment criminals. I'm gonna make a note of that for tomorrow. And that means I have a couple of choices for this one. So they started out... Dahmerin started out on Starfall and Prospect. But the chase actually started... The chase started at Luna Phoenix and Ironwood. So, do we want to start with the first intersection mentioned, or should we start with the exciting intersection, which is the one where the chase is happening? Do we have any thoughts? Didn't know it was break time, just adding words to this document. Hey, if you are feeling the muse, you just keep right on going, Tallulah. There is no need to stop if you are feeling in the zone. You can add a hydrate moment into your stream so that you do it at certain points throughout your stream, like before or after each break. Oh, that's a good idea, actually. It's 2 a.m. I'm going to sleep. Neo, sleep well. Thank you so much for hanging out and for the raid. I appreciate you. I hope your story goes well. I want an unclear moral. Is it possible to forgive this machine, or the fact that it killed the only life form on the planet shows that it is just a mindless machine? I like unclear moral stories. I like Shades of Grey stories. They are very interesting to me. The machine did its duty. The machine said that it is now a life form and all life form must die. That's an interesting question too. Like, did it develop empathy, or did it kill itself because that was its programming? Questions. So far, I just added 33 words. Gonna take a 5-minute phone game break. Nice! Tallulah, I'm glad to hear it. We're gonna look for someone to raid. I will check Flutter's channel, but I don't think she is probably up yet, unfortunately. And if I didn't have a bunch of other stuff to do, I would stick around until the Winds of Chaos crew start. But unfortunately, I got some other stuff I gotta take care of before I can eat dinner, and I gotta eat dinner because it's important. I don't know why I said it that way. I guess because I was trying to emphasize important. My brain does weird things with words sometimes. Let's see who's around. Coffee Quills is up. We could raid the lovely Coffee Quills. One of the first writers that I found here on Twitch, or actually more accurate to say that they found me, and introduced me to the wonders of this community. Or I will let you guys decide. We can head over to Coffee Quills, who is live right now, or I think, I'm not entirely sure how this works. I think we could raid Flutterdye even though she's not currently online. It would be an offline raid. It would be a few minutes, probably, I think 15 to 20 minutes before the channel comes online, so we would all just kind of be hanging out in a chat waiting for people to show up. If we want to head over to the Winds of Chaos crew so that people are pre-lurking for the start of the show, we can try to do that. That's a 1-800 number. I will let that go to voicemail. Or we can head over to Coffee Quills, who is actively writing right now. Probably on For the Words. Also a very lovely chill streamer who's doing productivity stuff instead of D&D. And I'll let you guys decide. I'm happy to do either of those things. Raiding Coffee probably makes more sense, but if you guys would like to try and drop in on the Chaos crew a little bit early so that they have people waiting, we can do that. Coffee adopted all of us. Coffee is amazing, honestly. When I was still just totally clueless and had no idea what I was doing and wasn't even sure if writing streams were a thing I could actually do, Coffee showed up and was like, hey, welcome to the family, and I'm just gonna send a bunch of people to your stream. And I was like, oh my god. So yeah, if you're not following Coffee Quills, please follow Coffee Quills. I don't, unfortunately, get to hang out in their streams a lot. I think, I don't know if they have daylight savings time in Japan, so I think we might be overlapping a little bit more because our time just changed. So I think we are slightly overlapping with other parts of the world a little bit more than we normally do while time zones get shuffled around. But I don't, unfortunately, get to hang out in Coffee's streams very often, so I am perfectly happy to head over and raid Coffee. So let's do it. That is not the right... I was copying the wrong username. Sometimes the way my brain works. This is why I put an equals sign instead of a freaking... hyphen into my work earlier. I tried to do them when Twitch was still new, but quit because I thought it was stupid. I just didn't think anyone would ever... Clearly you guys have proven me wrong because you're all here, like, disclaimer, but I just didn't think anyone would show up to watch me write stuff. I was like, it would be so boring. But people come and we hang out and we have fun and it's great and I love it. So I'm glad that I ultimately dove in and gave it a try. But I think if it weren't for people like Coffee and Sable who were already like on Twitch doing this kind of stuff, and people like Comf who does a lot of co-working streams, I don't know if I would have stuck with it. But seeing them really inspired me to do things, you know, my own way. And I'm glad that I have. I'm glad that I've stuck around. I've met all of you lovely people, and it's been amazing. I will be back on Thursday morning, 10 a.m. PST, for more of this. I will be doing edits in this very book. I'll be picking up pretty much from where we left off. and we'll be doing that. Unfortunately, that will be my last stream for a little while. We are going to Ontario to visit Ghost Pepper's parents. This is our rescheduled Christmas trip, which did not happen in December. So we will be away from our computers and away from our equipment. So neither of us will be around for most of 2 weeks. But I will be back the first week in April. It will be Camp Nano for people who are doing Camp Nano, and it will be a Game of Tomes tourney month for people who are doing that. I believe someone also said it's 100 words. I don't remember the full. I think it's 100 hours of words or something like that. I'm going to check into that because I've not done it before, and I want to see what their rules and stuff are. People have said they really enjoyed it, so I'm going to check that out as well and see if maybe I can hop into doing that in April. So there'll be a lot going on in April. It'll hopefully be tons of fun and make up for the fact that I'm going to be away for a little while. But I will see you guys on Thursday. I'm going to get that raid started. Writers help writers, plus we get to bounce ideas off each other. Exactly! And I love that the community here on Twitch is so open and so caring and so willing to help. I have been in creative communities where people get really jealous, or, you know, people don't like to talk about how to do things or how they do things or what their ideas are because they're afraid that someone's going to steal it, or, you know, they just don't want to necessarily help people get on their wavelength. And I feel like there's no competition between storytellers. We're all in this crazy world together, and we're all trying to do something really hard, and it's best if we just help each other. Extend a hand when someone is down. Someone will always extend a hand back to you. And the Twitch community, the Twitch writing community, I feel really embodies that. Like, people are always willing to help. People are always willing to give advice and, you know, pick you up if you're having a rough day. So definitely glad that I stuck around and found all you guys. And I'm glad that I can pay back the love. Let me do a quick... if you want to grab one of the raid calls, if you have my emotes, feel free to use them. If not, use any emotes that make you happy, because like I said, it's about the love. I'll see you guys Thursday, and please take care. I hope the words flow for you until that time.